Now, without going too deep into the exception classes, I just want to give you a little head start here on understanding the various exception types that are built into the C++ standard library. Okay. Now, first of all, before we talk about those, understand exceptions of any type can be thrown, and they're often thrown as objects, like you're going to see in the standard library of C++. But they can also be thrown as integers or strings or anything, and there's a lot of pretty cool things you can do. I'll show you a couple of things in the examples later in a separate video. But now the standard C++ library includes an exception class, and that's the name of it, exception. And then within that there are two categories of additional exception classes that inherit from exception. Now, if you remember from our inheritance videos, that means they're derived from exception, and these are called logic error and runtime error. And so we're basically dividing our exceptions off, and each one of these exception classes has additional child classes, and you can use these to look for certain errors, and you can catch certain types of errors. Now, when we've got the original kind of a parent of everybody exception class, and then we can get more specific and look for certain errors. Now, why do we look for certain errors? Well, if I can catch, for example, a logic error, now I know specifically what information to provide back to my end user to give them a clue what to help. Now, within the logic error tree, if you will, the classes that derive from logic error are domain error, invalid argument, length error, out of range error, okay, or the out of range class. And again, if this particular error gets thrown, if we do a catch on a domain error and a domain error gets thrown, now we know with a little more specificity now what's going on. And then we have the runtime error group of classes, and this gives us range errors, overflow errors, and underflow errors. Now, the way to understand these, and what's kind of interesting here, is that the logic errors and the runtime errors, these two classes inherit directly from exception. And so if you just kind of want to know, hey, if this is a logic error, then I'll catch logic errors, and if it's a runtime error, I'll catch the runtime error exception, and it'll give me an idea. If I want to get more specific, then I can use the domain, invalid argument, length, or out of range errors, and these inherit from logic error. And then on the bottom there, the range, overflow, and underflow inherit from runtime error. Now, I just wanted to kind of let you know that there's a lot of exception types already built out there. Jump out on the internet or grab you a good book on C++ and just start looking. And you can see there's a lot of things out there that's already built for the various general usual errors that you'll have. Now, you can certainly build your own classes. You can derive from exception. You can do all kind of cool things with this. But I just kind of wanted to whet your appetite a little bit and give you a little direction on the exception types that are already out there that you can just code to and use right now.